Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Paris Talks Marketing. Today, I'm with Aniq Rajabdeen. Aniq is a marketing professional, a business leader, and an entrepreneur. He brings over 15 years of experience in business and marketing, and he's worked with companies from various industries based out of the US and Sri Lanka. He's currently the head of marketing for John Keells IT, which is a strategic business unit of John Keells Holding, which is Sri Lanka's largest listed conglomerate. John Keells IT is the IT arm of John Keells IT Holdings, and it also offers end-to-end digital transformation solutions for organizations across APAC and the Middle East regions. So, Aniq, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Paris. Thank you.
Great to have you here. Let's start off for our audience benefit. John Keells IT is a large conglomerate, and the IT arm focuses on what specifically?
So, John Keells Holdings is the conglomerate. The group has over 70 business units operating across 8 industry verticals. John Keells IT serves as the group's IT arm, and we also serve companies across various industries, as you correctly said, across the APAC and Middle East regions. We essentially offer end-to-end digital transformation solutions, working with principals like SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, to name a few. So it's about how we help companies embark on digital transformation, help them establish their core, and then migrate their operations to the cloud. And essentially, it goes on and on. Then implementing AI into the operations, doing data analytics. So what is essentially required to gain the necessary advantage to build scale operations and reduce costs so that they essentially make more money and keep growing.
Yeah, that's what we're all trying to do. Well, what do you all work with? Any particular types of companies, any specific industries or size of?
We work with more of large scale corporations making over $100 million. We work with enterprises, like I said, in different industries. So it really depends on the requirement and if our tech solutions can fulfill what their need is at a given time.
Mm-hmm. And are you all helping these companies to implement AI in any way?
It's fairly new. I'd say it's a fairly new technology that's been rolling out. But yes, what we do for companies facilitates them to enable AI within their operations. And yes, we are just starting to roll out solutions that can help them fulfill these requirements.
Yeah. I'm curious to know when you come into a large company and you start talking about AI, they haven't really touched it yet. Could be the bureaucracy or just slow moving. What are you finding when you're introducing new concepts around AI to these large companies? Is there a resistance or is it more curiosity? Do they bring up any concerns about risks?
I can't say that we have been driving the introduction of AI that deeply yet. So I couldn't give you this perspective. Just in a general tech perspective, I'd say we help them understand what technology is required for their requirement. Because the last thing they need is to implement the wrong technology, because that could be a complete disaster for the business operation.
Yeah. What is the most common tech stack that you help them implement?
It varies, but of course, ERP, we have a wealth of experience implementing ERP, cybersecurity, which are two areas that falls within our forte.
And in terms of marketing, is your responsibility, I presume, is to help to generate leads for John Keells IT and the group at large, or specifically the IT?
It's specifically for the IT arm, and it's building brand awareness. There's corporate marketing, of course, lead generation. We work hand in hand with our sales teams to get that going. And then I also overlook events, the execution of events, and helping with the building partner relationships. This is essentially what it is in a nutshell.
Okay. Can you talk to me about any kind of AI initiatives happening inside of John Keells and how you're contributing to that?
Nothing specifically that I could talk about on behalf of the company. However, within the department operations, within the organization, I know that there's a lot of AI being used by individuals. The marketing department comes under me, so I can speak for the marketing department itself. I talk about this concept called bring your own AI because it's common across organizations across the world where the businesses are yet to introduce AI into their operations. And as a result, individuals bring their own AI into work because they've used it outside of work and they see how that can help them increase their efficiency. And there's multiple other benefits. So that's something that I personally have experienced and my team is experiencing as well.
That's a cool concept. Does that mean that people are free to use their own personal ChatGPT account, let's say, for work purposes? Or is there a broader concept there when you say bring your own AI?
No, that's simply it. I know that there are multiple other AI tools out there. However, majority person that I've spoken to is utilizing ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT right now seems to be running away with it.
Copilot also drives a lot of similar benefits. I know how it's changed the whole game with having meetings. For instance, as a simple example, gone are the days where you have to sit down and take down meeting minutes and spend a lot of time doing this tedious job of writing notes. It's a matter of turning on your Copilot during the meeting while it's being run on Teams, and it records the entire conversation. And then it just sends you a summary of everything that was discussed.
It's great. It's hard for me even to imagine what life was like before the note takers. I look back at some of my old notebooks full of handwritten notes. I kind of miss that though, because I think the act of writing down, especially handwritten notes, I think that helps you to commit things to memory. And maybe these note takers could be making us a little bit lazy because we know everything's being recorded, and not just recorded, but they're going to parse out what are the next steps, who has to do what, and the action items. But it is hard to imagine life without the note takers now, for sure. One of the things that I like to do is take the transcript and the notes from the note taker and then bring that back into AI, like a ChatGPT, and then try to take it to the next step. So let's say if I'm doing a proposal and we had a call with that prospect, I might upload that into ChatGPT, the transcript, and then explore how can we craft this proposal the right way based on what we talked about. And it's phenomenal. And how about you yourself? Have you had any breakthroughs, or how are you using AI beyond the note takers, bringing more efficiency and productivity for yourself and for your marketing team?
Well, I think everyone has their own way of using AI, right? So, in terms of driving efficiency, I guess the more you use it, the better you get at it. So, I've been, depending on the work that's required, helps me understand what sort of engagement I need to drive with the AI. I spend a lot of time having a conversation. So, my prompts, it's not just a single prompt. I'm actually chatting to it like it's another individual on my team. And so, how it works for me is I have a conversation on a particular topic, and I wouldn't have to come back to the AI and have to brief it all over again on this particular task or project that I've been working on. So, it helps my work become a lot more efficient the next time I need to drive a similar project because then it's just how the prompt is submitted. And then it continues the conversation from where we left off. So, this has helped seriously drive efficiency in getting work done at different
Yeah,
times.
I know what you're saying. I think that the memory feature of ChatGPT especially has gotten quite good. I used to think that I would need to go back into the conversation thread on a particular topic and continue there if I wanted ChatGPT to remember and pick up where we left off. But now, because of memory, I can start a new chat, entirely new chat, and I can reference a concept or I can reference a theme that we talked about in, I don't know, even weeks before that, and it can recall it. So, as you said, I don't have to take the time to rebrief and start from scratch. I don't have to hunt down and try to track down the old chats because that's actually has been a lot of friction for me, at least. It's figuring out, well, I know I had a chat about this a couple of weeks ago with ChatGPT, but what did we talk about? And then now I need to search for certain keywords. And I think that they have mostly fixed that now.
Yeah, there's always seems to be a moment where you think you have it all under control and you're like, oh, yeah, I can find this next time because it all seems to be organized. But then the work just keeps piling up. And then before you know it, it's all in like a whole bunch of different conversations that have been had. There is an option to archive your chats so you can refer back to it and you can unarchive it and continue the conversation. So this might help. However, I think how it can be used keeps getting better the more you use it. Previously, I had this going based on what you just said, referring back to a previous chat. I know that ChatGPT, there was a time when it didn't give me information from a different conversation that I had with it. But today I have the ability to do that. So that's just an example of, I guess, as it keeps getting better, how we use it and how we engage with it also keeps growing and improving.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more like a colleague, and as, or you can think of it as an intern or something, but a highly qualified intern. If you can give an intern a task and then a couple of weeks later you can mention that same topic again and they have remembered it. I think the memory function is one of the core features that will make ChatGPT sticky. Because right now we're still in a world, I think, where it's very easy to switch and to just cross right over into Claude or Gemini or Perplexity, and the switching costs are very low. But as this memory gets better and better, that's going to give the answers from the specifically ChatGPT with its memory. It's going to be able to produce better answers, and I think it's going to hold the users in more. It's going to make it stickier. And I think the same way that Google Search for many years has tried to personalize search results based on not only your search history, but all of what you're doing in Google that they can see, like your YouTube viewing and what you're doing in the Chrome browser. I think that GPT is going to bring that same personalization, and it's already happening. I know there's bring your own AI within your team. Do you do any kind of trainings or skill sharings or things like that where you encourage people to show and to share what they've been able to do with AI?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I have to train. I've made it a point to train my team so that they keep getting better because they need to know how to use it to become more efficient, and they have to use it really to stay relevant today in terms of how fast work needs to be produced because now it's become a norm to get work out really fast. So I keep learning and understanding and how I can get better and better. And like I said, practice makes perfect. Practice is what's required. So I have shown my team on how I use AI on different tasks or different projects. And then I just let them go do their thing. I don't really tell them. And I've noticed they've got pretty good at it over the past few months. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
I think that's the right approach. We had initially taken the approach that I think many teams took and are maybe still taking, which is to create a big prompt library and give that to the team and encourage people to add to it and to update it. And it should have all kind of different scenarios and tasks and prompts that you can copy paste. But what I've found now is that the experience with generative AI and ChatGPT, it's more personal than just taking a prompt from a prompt library and plugging it in and maybe changing out the variables. So we've moved away from the concept of a prompt library, and we're encouraging more people now to just talk conversationally, literally using the voice feature of ChatGPT. And instead of going through a rigid structure like all right, give it its role and then give it a specific goal, just turn on the microphone and start talking and saying, and this is what I'm struggling with, or I have this challenge, this deadline, and can you help me put together something? And I think that's what ChatGPT also prefers, is more conversational style, not rigid prompts. And I do think we're moving away from this period where the prompt engineering was a major advantage, and there were even a lot of people being hired as prompt engineers. I don't think that's going to persist forever in this world. I don't think ChatGPT and the others want to give any special advantage to people who just have these prompting skills, but rather just they get better at understanding from natural conversation.
Yeah, I remember there being a time when that seemed like it was going to be a hot roll in terms of how skilled you are to use AI, and then you hire skilled individuals to really drive that. I suppose to some extent they would still be required, but based on the context of what we're talking about, I suppose that rigid structure probably works for individuals who are not yet independent enough with driving the conversations with AI. Then there's a bit of handholding that's required. But I think like we're both saying that independence is required in terms of having a conversation based on how it's unique to you. Because I can't tell one of my team members how to engage with AI based on how I would do it, because then at some point that there would be some blocks.
Yeah, it is a personal.
I wonder how's the voice command working? Does it recognize the words that are being said really well, and does it really produce the same output as typing? I've not used it, the voice command.
I think so. From my experience, yes. I also installed an app called Super Whisper, and it's specifically for transcribing voice into text. It does a really good job of it. So I use Super Whisper now across everything I'm doing now. Instead of typing when I'm chatting in Google Chat, instead of typing, I use voice. I use that to reply to emails. And then when I'm working in AI, same thing. And it does a great job, saves me a lot of time. I want to shift over now to some of the risks because you're part of a large group, and you have cybersecurity clients, and there are a lot of risks. People are very aware of these risks. Do you have any kind of risk mitigation when it comes to AI use? Do you trust the AI that you and your teams are using to keep the company data that's being shared confidential?
My team, we don't have not really been engaging ChatGPT for any confidential information per se. It's utilized more for operational work. But in terms of compliance and how it's regulated and how we manage the work for what's being produced, there's frameworks that have already been established. And also, all work that is being published, or even if it's circulated outside the company, it's all reviewed by the necessary supervisors. So that's a way of making sure that we fulfill what's required before any work is being released. But in terms of how we're using AI and maintaining confidentiality there, we haven't really had any concerns as of yet. Possibly because it's not
Okay,
being used on such a large scale where we've had to build policies and regulate the use of AI yet.
I see. Okay. And how about the hallucinations? I believe that it's getting a lot better, but still AI can make stuff up. And it's actually a feature more than it is a bug because I think that is what, in a lot of cases, unlocks a lot of creative potential within AI because it helps if you come in brainstorming. I think that hallucination can actually unlock new ideas. But for people that are really relying on ChatGPT to give advice and they may be making important decisions, the hallucination can really lead someone down the wrong path. Are you concerned about that, or is it something that you think is a factor here or a risk for people in your team using it?
Well, I can't speak for how they use it for their personal needs, but for the company, again, like I said, everything is reviewed by me. So there's always a check before any work is produced. But in terms of this, what I've done in a part of my training and guidance that I've given my team, I've helped them understand the fundamentals that are required for how they need to use it. I think it's fundamentally required for them to be able to comprehend the work that's being produced based on their objectives of what they necessarily need to fulfill. So that would help them really know if the work, if anything that's come out of AI is sensible. Because even work that I do, I read in-depth review of everything that I do with AI. And on multiple occasions, I would ask it, where did you get this information? And then it thanked me and said, thank you for flagging this. This was actually just picked out based on common information that we gathered from our research. But it would not have anything to do with our company, for example. It's a two-way thing. I think that responsibility is the individual, and that's a part of your training.
Yeah. So let me ask you more around the marketing and the activities of your team. Do you all do much digital marketing like SEO or paid ads with Google?
Yeah, we do digital advertising, SEO to a certain aspect of it. Yeah, internally, everything is done in-house.
Specifically, SEO, I believe, is, of course, based on Google and the 10 blue links and traffic clicks. And As more and more people in the B2B world start doing their research in ChatGPT and, of course, others as well, there's this new emerging field of GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, or AI SEO. I think there isn't a commonly agreed on name or acronym yet for this, but it's actually now a new game of trying to get your brand either mentioned or a citation in the answers and in the output of ChatGPT and LLMs. Do you think this is a thing? And have you started thinking about this yet as a marketing channel?
I have not really started thinking about it. There's so much to consider, but I haven't got into this in depth to give you much perspective on it. But I can totally
Mhm.
see how that would be a big thing soon as the business becomes more competitive because of the use of AI.
Yeah, I think one of the big blind spots is a lack of data. With SEO, you have all this keyword research data that you can look at. And you can see which keywords are being searched, how many times, how often per month, from which countries, and you can build a strategy and create content on the basis of that research. But with LLMs, there isn't any such data. And if you think about it, there aren't really any keywords anymore because people are going in with long questions and you can't just distill it down to some keywords or search queries. So I think that part of search marketing as it evolves is going to go away. Also, less and less people are clicking through. Google's original purpose was to serve up the right results so that you could click through and do your own research. But now all that research is getting distilled and just served right to you in one answer, which I think is a better experience. But it doesn't result in clicks to websites as much anymore. And so that's another aspect of measurement that's going away. So I think part of what's holding back this new emerging channel of GEO or AI SEO is of an unclear ROI framework. Because with SEO, you know, there's a click, they come to the website, there's a certain conversion rate. It might be a purchase, it might be a lead. Ultimately, you can connect the dots all the way to revenue. And then you know, okay, there's a positive return here, we can invest. But that doesn't exist. And it may never really exist for GEO. But do you think that for your group, would that be something that you would consider actually carving out a budget, investing in and building competencies within your team for in the future?
I can't speak on behalf of the group. I'm sure it's a very large group, so I'm sure these things will possibly be considered. I've actually personally used ChatGPT to get recommendations on hotels when I was traveling overseas based on a particular location about people seeking. And it just gave me the top 5 or 10 choices of the hotels in the area. And it was really cool because they've actually pretty good choices. I can see how
Mhm.
this would evolve into a marketing strategy where something, it could be something that digital agencies put out there in front of businesses and say, hey, let us help you get into the top results with AI because you don't need to do it. We're the experts, let us do it for you. This is the pitch that has been going on
Mhm.
when throughout the time when social media was there, when Google Ads came out, just similar to what you've been talking about. In terms of John Keells IT and for the business that we're in, I still don't think we'll be fully reliant on that alone. It may be something we could consider just to see how effective it is and how it drives some value towards our marketing and lead generation. However, there are certain must do's or must haves in terms of our lead gen and marketing sales operations that wouldn't necessarily change and comes down to building relationships and, that human interaction is important.
Yeah. Do you think that's an interesting point, the human interaction with each other? You think that AI, that there's a risk that the critical thinking, the strategic thinking may start to atrophy for human marketers just because we're all now using AI so much, it could become a crutch and we could over rely on AI and that could even reduce our own critical thinking abilities and strategic thinking. And that includes interacting with each other and sharing and brainstorming ideas. Maybe instead of brainstorming with colleagues, I might just lock into ChatGPT which is kind of a colleague also, like a co-pilot. Is there risk that that might happen, do you think?
I wouldn't say no. There's a big risk of it happening because everyone's very reliant on it today. It'll be quite concerning because, say, one day they suddenly switch it off for some reason, or there's some bug, and then suddenly AI is just not available worldwide. I feel like that would really disrupt operations across a lot of businesses. Suddenly, people are just going to be stuck. I've seen people even use it for text messaging through WhatsApp, for example. There's such, you can tell that it's written by AI and not the individual.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be disastrous if AI were to suddenly switch off. I think it's almost like a utility now in the same way that if the whole internet went down or something like that, people rely on it so much. And it's amazing how fast this has all happened in the last really just couple of years. And I think it's going to continue to accelerate. And it's hard to see where at some point it's going to plateau. I think we haven't yet reached what they're referring to as AGI, artificial general intelligence, but we're probably pretty close. And then there's another frontier of artificial super intelligence where AI becomes really better than humans at practically every cognitive task there is. But we're barreling towards this future. And I think a lot of people aren't quite ready for that. I think there could be a lot of disruption in jobs. What do you think about that job disruption? Do you think that is a risk? Do you think it's a risk also within your company that could happen as AI just gets better and better and can replace a lot of the human driven workflows that are happening?
Yeah, I think it could happen. It depends on how progressive the companies also are, where it could disrupt operations. I think individuals would really need to learn how to stay relevant in this day and age by upskilling and
Mhm.
learning how to use these technologies to keep driving value. So, where do you automate? How do you get involved in the operation? And how do you keep delivering results? I've seen how AI is now used. I was traveling sometime last year and I saw how you can engage if you want to get your eyes checked. You don't interact with human beings anymore. You just interact with this system. It's used for medical, it's used at banks. Today, it's being used in retail for customer service. Yeah, it goes on and on. So it's only going to grow.
Yeah, I think the societal benefits are massive, and particularly in areas of, I think, healthcare, education, climate change, and the environment as well. So I think that there are going to be massive gains, but there could be a short term disruption as it replaces a lot of the things that humans are doing, and then humans. I do believe that there will be new jobs and new types of roles created that are going to be a lot of just orchestrating the AI and being able to oversee it in a way and to steer it, but not actually doing a lot of the same tasks that AI will take over. Let's pivot over to cybersecurity for a little bit because you all do cybersecurity in the IT group, I realize. And cybersecurity also is a hot industry, and in part because of AI. And this is moving more towards some of the negative aspects of AI because some of the hackers, the bad actors are able to use AI to really trick people and to commit cyber crimes. How do you all see the industry of cybersecurity? And as a marketer, you're marketing your firm's cybersecurity services. What are some of the unique challenges that you face in marketing for cybersecurity, just given the world that we're in now?
Well, in terms of challenges, I'd say it's important to make sure that you're constantly well read in what's going on, even from a technical standpoint. Because at the rate that technology is advancing today, there's constantly new areas that need to be focused on. Also, for businesses, the threat landscape is constantly evolving. Today, there's technology that makes it possible for businesses to be much more secure. But at the same time, it also makes them equally vulnerable because the cybercrime is rising equally fast.
In particular, generating leads, we work with a lot of cybersecurity companies, and generating leads is quite challenging, in part because while there is a ton of demand for cybersecurity services, it's hard to differentiate and position the solutions in a really unique way in the market. What are some of the best strategies that you've found for generating leads for cybersecurity?
You're 100% right. There's no point us going and doing a pitch on technology that so many other companies are doing the same pitch on. So it's a matter of how do you differentiate yourself. So I guess when we talk to businesses and new opportunities, it's a matter of educating these organizations on the advancements in AI and AI powered technologies. We help them understand what's available and what's required for them to essentially remain more secure. In line with this, we also talk about our use cases and what we have driven for other companies. In fact, John Keells IT implemented the first co-pilot for security in South Asia. This was done for our parent company, John Keells Holdings. So that was a great case study. And it's essentially experiences like this that help us connect with more and more business opportunities.
Great. It's really interesting to see how much growth is happening in that space, and other sectors are not growing nearly as fast. Coming back full circle to AI, do you have any bold predictions about, let's say, the future of AI or the intersection of AI with cybersecurity and with marketing in the next couple of years? Paint me a picture of what the business is going to look like in a couple of years, given where AI is headed, where cybersecurity is headed, and how you can prepare for that from marketing perspective.
It's really hard to say because it's constantly evolving. It always comes up with something more than what we would anticipate or expect. How you'd prepare, how I'd prepare is, like I said, I just keep educating myself on what's going on in the industry with the different tools and solutions out there, understanding how other professionals are also using these technologies. And yeah, essentially just trying to keep training and getting better at using these technologies. What's your perspective on it, Paris?
I generally think that from a marketing perspective, that this is going to become the most important digital marketing channel. It's not yet today, but I think it will. So I think that SEO will evolve into GEO. And I know at our agency, we're starting to work on specific approaches for doing GEO. Some of it involves basic traditional SEO best practices, like having a really technically sound website, allowing the crawlers to easily access all the content and understand it. That's always been fundamental, whether it's a Google crawler or it's an LLM that's crawling the content. But I think what's different and what's going to change, and we'll see this play out in the next year or two, is content creation. People will approach content creation very differently. And I think there's going to be an explosion in AI generated content and driven by AI content engines, really, that supply AI with every possible persona and micro persona and almost all imaginable situations, use cases, and contexts. And that's going to be very different because you couldn't really force all of that kind of content into Google's index. But with the LLMs, I think that they are going to be hungry and will ingest large volumes of content that is really built for their own understanding, not for human consumption. Like what we're building content today for websites that's primarily designed for human consumption and understanding. So it has nice images, it has nice formatting. It needs to have a good user experience. With the LLMs, I think it's just about getting all that data and information as efficiently as possible, but it's primarily not made for human consumption. And that's going to be a big change. I know that's rather specific, but within cybersecurity, something else too, which is I think there's an opportunity to use AI to really quickly research new threats as they emerge. And there's this label called the CVE number, which is a common vulnerability and exposure. And it's kind of the official label for every new threat that gets discovered and classified. And you probably know about these CVEs. There's been an explosion in CVEs. Right now, on average, there's 136, I think, new CVEs dropping every day. So for researchers and marketers that want to quickly understand these threats and then be able to tap into the demand, for people that are researching. It's almost impossible for a human team to keep up with that. I mean, more than 100 per day, doing the research and then publishing any kind of official advice and marketing material is impossible. But one of the things that we're building is an AI agent. It's like kind of an automated workflow driven by AI that as soon as a CVE drops, it can use AI to do the research and produce a really informative, content rich landing page. And then that also it goes out in parallel and builds Google ad campaign, LinkedIn ad campaign. And in that really short window of about 2 or 3 days where a lot of people are searching and trying to get information, both from ChatGPT, LLMs, and Google, the marketers can exploit that window, that spike in interest and demand. And that's just one use case that I think is very unique for cybersecurity, just because you have so much. I guess it's like the breaking news in cybersecurity. It's all these new threats that keep coming like a fire hose at companies. So I think that solution, we're calling it CyberForge. I think it's quite unique. And I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities, not only in cybersecurity, but in other industries where there's a real time aspect where events are happening very, very quickly. And there are really short windows of opportunity to capture demand around that event because people are on Twitter and X and stuff breaks. And then 1 or 2 days later, it's old news and people have moved on. But if you can roll up all these little windows and you can build a really powerful demand capture marketing engine. So that's one of the things that we have recently rolled out. But what do you think about that as an idea?
I think it's great. Ultimately, it comes down to what's relevant to the business and with the conversations that you want to start having with your customers or potential customers, or in line with the focus of the business operations. And also, we got to wait and see how that will go because it sounds there's so much information, it could also become overwhelming sometimes. And then, how much information can an individual consume unless you're actually going out and looking for something which sounds like it's going to serve it really well. But then again, going back to how Google AdWords and all this stuff first came out, where suddenly all these different entities and organizations and individuals all participating in one very crowded competitive space. And then it's a matter of the best message wins. But what's the best message if it's all done with AI? So then it's possible that over time, I feel like human interaction would once again become a lot more impactful because when you're in this digital space, everything seems to be generated by a computer system.
Yeah, it's a very good point. If you're using AI to scale out content, whether it's for cybersecurity threats or any other topic, you don't really have a competitive moat there because anyone else can do it. So the question is then, what else can you bring into that process that is unique, like a proprietary data that you have, or maybe an interview like what we're doing here? We're creating content that no LLM has ever yet discovered. So if we add this interview to a piece of content, I think it increases the uniqueness, the authority that comes from an expert conversation, expert opinions on a topic. I also think that's the future of content marketing, as well as people use AI more and more to create content. I think they have to infuse that content with real conversations with human experts to show that there's still the real authority and experience behind it.
Yeah.
Aniq, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have asked or that you think can benefit our audience?
Nothing specifically. I think it was a good conversation. It was a great perspective. I think there's a lot of things that we discussed that a lot of individuals probably think about and haven't really heard much information about. So I actually enjoyed the conversation. Nothing specifically that I can point out.
All right. And as we wrap up, where is the best place if people want to find you and connect with you?
I'd say LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn and it's quite up to date. So you can just drop me a message there and I'll write back to you.
All right, great. For those who are going to look for you, it's Aniq with a Q, Aniq Rajabdeen, and you'll find him there. And Aniq, it's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I think you're in an exciting place right now with a great situation, I think, to drive a lot of really positive change in your group with AI. So good luck with that and enjoy it.
It's been a pleasure, Paris. Thank you very much.